Short story about Sumer, the land of the Watchers, that is situated in present Iraq. The history of Anunnaki as found in translated cuneiform tablets that were found at Nineveh and other places in a nearby region, and a little bit of history about Enki Enlil, their father Ea, and the history of Anunnaki on Earth as we found this information in cuneiform tablets from Babylonia and Sumer.
In the Bible and have been there ever since they wrote themselves in. Elohim is usually translated incorrectly as Lord. And if you read the Bible and replace Lord, and don't forget about the added words, with shining ones, you will see a remarkable difference. A reading now of how it was meant to be. We now have the shining light of knowledge, spoken of in 2 Corinthians 4:6. The Lord God of the Bible is the light who gives birth to the divine spark of Christ. A pure reading of the global understanding that God was the basis for illumination, the fire, the sun, the light, and heads of those that shine from that brilliance, the source of intelligence itself. Anu, or An, was the chief sky sun god, and means shining. The Anunnaki therefore means sons of the shining one, or sons of light. In Ireland, the term for shining was Ain. There may be a connection here with the Tuatha De Danann, the Shining Ones of Ireland, and the serpent cult that St. Patrick had removed from the Emerald Isle. Also, there is an unusual semi-nomadic bear-worshipping tribe in Japan, known as the Ainu. The Ainu look Caucasian, with round heads, white skin, wavy thick hair, and grey or blue eyes. The Ainu are said to have been living in many of Japan's islands, like Okinawa, for over 7,000 years. And it is said that the Ainu share a language similarity with the Basque, who live in the Pyrenees, the mountains bordering Spain and France. Also interesting is the fact that in these Ainu regions, a number of stone circles have been found with a slender, upright stone in the centre, similar to those found in the British Isles and elsewhere. These Anunnaki, or Shining Ones, were a culturally and technically advanced people who settled in a mountain valley in the Middle East around 8,200 BC, and, as their primary concern, established an agricultural centre we now know as the Garden of Eden, for the teaching and training of the local tribesmen. were described as the shining countenanced lords of cultivation, elevated to gods. Anu and his wife Antu had two sons. Enlil, the storm god, ruled the air and atmosphere, and Enki, the water.
So there is a little bit of difference from what this video is saying. Enki was only the son of Anu with another person that was not of this earth. So Enki and Enlil were actually stepbrothers, so only the father was the same. Enki was the first to arrive on earth. Enlil was the later coming on earth. Also, the time of this documentary, it's slightly different from what Zachariah Sitchin is saying, that they arrive 450 or 480,000 years ago, which actually correspond with the time that some documents say is the reversal of poles of the earth. So let's listen the next part of this documentary.
Enki is also the wise teacher known as Ea or Oannes, who led the fish beings that came from the sea, or indeed from across the sea. Enki was depicted as a goat with a fish's tail, which became the sign of Capricorn. Enki or Ea's consort was Ninki or Damkina, and their children were Marduk and Nanch. Enlil, also known as Bel or Baal, and whose patron city was Nippur, later ruled in Anu's name. Ninlil or Ninkar-Shag ruled the earth. The early Sumerians described themselves as constantly nourished by the milk of Ninkar-Shag, the great mother moon goddess. The Syrians knew her as Atar-Gatis, the mermaid. The son of Enlil and Ninlil was the war god Ninurtu, also known as Nimrod, and like Horus and as Osiris, he became associated with the star constellation of Orion. We also have Nana, who was the moon goddess, and Utu, the sun god, also known as Ogmash and Shamash. It was Shamash who later given the 29 laws to King Hammurabi. There is also Inanna, or Ishtar, who was associated with Venus, as symbolized by the pentacle. The texts that we have on the Sumerian deities vary. In fact, they evolve over time, losing some of their historicity as the story develops, making it more and more difficult to see the origins. Trying to bring clarity to the tales of Sumerian and Mesopotamian deities is like trying to learn Mandarin backwards. However, due to the names we are given, such as Enki, for instance, who is identified with Ea and Oannes, we're being led to cross-reference the Anunnaki with the fish beings, who seem to have come ashore in Sumeria from the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf, and at a time which is now lost in antiquity. Indeed, we find that both are the same people, and that the fish beings are also the Anunnaki shining ones, the gods of Sumeria, and the Elohim of the Bible.
So, part of this information is found on cuneiform tablets, and some of these pictures that you saw in this video you can find actually at Royal Ontario Museum in Toronto. Some of them at